That looks good on its own. I have to say that, there's been times when I've wanted to keep it as it is and I've been tempted, but I'm just not brave enough and it doesn't really suit my kind of style. And what I would tend to do from this point is a soft light again. You end up with a nice contrast increase, bit of a colour change. Again, you can actually just go back and change these colours. I've made these gradient maps myself. They're all just there for for use in the future or whatever. So yeah, you can move things around. Makes a hell of a difference to the colour and stuff like that. So let's just say, for instance, I wanted it at 50% ish. It kind of shows you that there's another option available. Just little tricks here and there that you can pick up and try and apply to your images. Not really too happy with it being on her face there, so it's already given us a mask there to paint on. So I'm going to press B to get my brush up, X, which will flip it to black, so that's going to be a negative. It's on 26% there, as you can see. It's the same brush from last time. So you can see that it's quite small on your screen probably, but the grey, maybe I'll zoom in to maximise this for you. The grey there starting to show that I'm not applying the gradient map on her face. There's no point, because I'm actually going to be doing some retouching in a bit, just to make sure that her skin's nice and smooth and that I've done it justice. So you can see there that the gradient map changes the rest of the image except for her face, maybe a little bit of her face because it's not fully at 100% black, but I like the changes. So that's off, that's on. Levels wise, again, I might actually paint black on the levels layer mask to reduce the contrast in her face. It's already quite a bright pale skin, so I don't really think there's much more increase in brightness that you'd really particularly want. I'll go all out on her hand there because I don't want it to be distracting too much. You can see there, levels make the image a bit more contrasty. Let's just say now that I'm happy with these two here. You're probably thinking, oh, so that's great, well, what do I do with it? You can save it from there and you can sort of move on and always come back to these, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to commit to the changes that I made. I'm just taking those off now, and then I'm going to layer, merge layers. I didn't actually need to take them off. But anyway, we've got a duplicate there because I've just pressed Ctrl J. Then obviously any changes we can do on this, we can always go back, and you've got the one below it that will be there for you in case you make too many mistakes. So anyway, the thing that I'm going to do on this one is use a portraiture plugin. This plugin, works wonders if you do this enough. It's great. You just highlight the colour of the skin that you're going to smooth. For what it's worth, it's a great plugin. It's not very expensive either. I don't know how old this one is. It's quite old now. I haven't had no need to upgrade. But as I say, it wasn't actually an expensive tool, and it makes a hell of a difference. It's really quick to use, and as you can see there, major difference in the skin. Just really smooths it out. I'm going to go ahead and mask this off completely. There's a layer mask here that you can hold Alt and click, which will give you a black mask instead of a white one, which will just come up if you click it without holding down any keys. Now I can paint only. Press B for brush, X, flip it round so I've got the white. I know that I want this on almost 100% when I paint on the layer mask here. Make sure you've got your layer mask selected, and accidentally you might be painting on this one instead. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint that in. I'm using a Wacom or a Wacom tablet, which actually makes things pretty quick when you're doing this. It's quite hard to click on sort of buttons and things with it, but it's really quick and useful for this sort of stuff. And once you get used to using it, it's pretty quick. So the idea is that I've actually only masked off her face. It gets rid of some of the noise as well, which is quite good in these images that are inherently dark. If I turn that off and on. So you can see there that, you know, it just instantly makes a hell of a difference. I think you can probably achieve the same sort of effects using some Gaussian blur technique, or something like a median blur, which I think is in the noise filter, noise, reduce noise, or median. They're quite good to do that with the skin. You can then mask it out with the same sort of thing, but for the purposes of this, as I said, it's not a skin smoothing tutorial, so we're just going to move on and say that that's great. I'm going to merge these two layers because I'm happy with their skin. Layer, merge layers. Great, okay, we can make another copy and we can move on. I'm going to go with the eyes now because that's probably the next best thing. Add them all into there, and I'm going to hit Control C, Control V. I've got that above here, which means that that is just a small copy of what. So we haven't got a massive great layer to work on. We're just going to do this sort of what we're going to go for: filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. Radius, we're going for just a contrast boost. Actually, we're not really going for something sharp. We're just looking for something that's quite aggressive and contrasty. There we go. Let's click OK, and we're going to mask it off, holding Alt again, clicking on the layer mask. So that's gone. Now we can get our brush, hit B, look at the percentage there. Let's say we'll go with 50 now because that's a good place to start. And I'm going to click on her eye. I'll do the same with the other one. I really need to sort that lipstick out, don't I? It's obviously stuck to the other end of the unlit cigarette. So, as you can see here, I'm just painting on the layer mask. I'll turn it on and off. You notice the difference. Subtle, but it all adds up in the end. So, you know, we've got some nice contrast on the eyes there. The next thing we're going to go for is dodge, and we're going to dodge the highlights in the hair, just because it'll bring out the shine. I'm using dodge tool highlights 4%, just for the purposes of this. It's quicker, you know. I'm pretty rough with it, but this isn't kind of how it would look in the end. We're going to go with burn next. Burn the shadows. I suppose you could start with midtones and work your way down, because I know that I didn't want any of this to be too prominent. 2% is not enough, so I'm going to move that up to 4. Let's go again around there, and then we're going to go with the shadows, and we're going to burn the shadows there. All the while, this should be, you know, increasing the contrast between her and the background. And then I'd sit and look at that for a second and think, okay, so what can we do from there? We can make other changes. We can go with maybe we could duplicate that layer again. We can go filter, sharpen. We could use this Unsharp Mask technique. It's really just basically going through things that you think might work or might not work. It's worth trying. You're just going for a contrasty kind of thing. Probably looking at that thinking, well, that looks pretty crap. But it's not about that. It's about thinking of the end result and what you want to get out of it. So let's just say yeah. But we're going to make another layer mask. I know I'm going through all these techniques pretty quick and not really touching on them too well, but I'm trying to cram in as many as I can and see whether you can use them in future stuff. So we've got here 53%, let's say 30%. You can see that it accentuates things. Let's just say, you know, for the purposes of this, I'm happy with that. Merge those layers. I'd say from the beginning to the end, yeah, I'm quite happy with that, and it's a processing technique that's really focusing on the main thing is these two layers You remember we had the two smart object layers. That's kind of what we were going for here. And I know I've sort of dragged on with a lot of other stuff. As I say, this is the first video tutorial I've done. This may be really long and I've not realised it, but I hope you've enjoyed some of the things in it and can take a few of these little techniques away and apply them to your own images. It's probably going to be one of many, so I look forward to doing some more in the future. Hopefully it'll be a regular thing, and assuming I get some good feedback from these, I'll continue them.